Hi, and welcome to our review of Chapter 2, Getting Started, Your First Speech. Remember, you can access these notes if you are one of my students in the SBC 1603 class over here in Modules. That's where I went, and now we can load those notes. So I'll get started while this is loading. There are 4 steps to success in planning and preparing your speech. I'll scroll down a little bit. Oops. Oh, okay. So right here, getting started. So there are 4 steps to success. Number 1, you need to analyze your potential listeners, as I mentioned in the last video. You must respect the diversity of your audience members. Remember, there are people of all different ages, backgrounds. There are men and women, so be careful not to offend anyone with the material that you're presenting. Organize your message very carefully. There must always be an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. The organization within those parts depends on the situation or your teacher's preferences. Be sure to use language effectively. Acronyms and jargon are not always appropriate. When you use acronyms, be sure to tell the audience what the acronym stands for the very first time you use it. And then every time after that, you can use the acronym. As far as jargon goes, it's normally not acceptable. If you want to use a tiny bit or it's very important to your speech, be sure to explain what it means to the audience so they can follow you. You also need to be natural and enthusiastic when talking with your listeners. Number 2, this is your next step in planning and preparing a speech. Determine your topic, the exact purpose, and your main points. So as far as your purpose, what type of speech is it? Are you going to talk about yourself? Are you going to give them some information about a topic? Are you going to persuade them? Or are you going to demonstrate something? So consider what type of speech it is. Also pick something you're familiar with, interested, and that your audience will be interested. And also something that fits the requirements for the assignment. If you're familiar with the topic you're talking about, you'll most likely be much more comfortable talking in front of an audience, and it'll be a little bit easier for you to remember the material you wanted to share with the audience, and you'll feel more natural delivering that material. It's also important to be interested in the topic, because if you're not interested, they're not going to be interested. If you have energy, they'll have energy. Also, make sure that they're interested in the topic. Don't pick a topic that is interesting just to you. I have had students in the past who really loved a certain topic, and I told them to ask the rest of their group members in class if they would be interested in that topic, because that's a great way to do a very informal survey of your audience members. He did this, and nobody was in favor of the topic, and he did it anyway. And the class did not appreciate it. They told him so. Everyone was very, nice about it, and he was cool with it, but you never want to do a speech that's really just for you. It's for your audience. And also be sure that it fits the requirements for the speech. Don't give a speech that is inappropriate for the classroom, and also within your speech, the certain organization that's required will differ depending on your teacher or the situation. In planning your speech organization, you need to come up with a brief purpose or thesis statement, and your main ideas. Some people come up with maybe 10 ideas to start out with, and then start narrowing those down to somewhere between 2 and 5 main points. The standard is 3, and depending on the textbook you look at, they will say you can have as little as 5 or as little as 2 or as many as 5 main points for your speech. Number 3, organize and outline your speech. Remember to have an attention-getting introduction, then develop the body of your speech with 2 to 5 main points, and then close your speech by summarizing and having a wrap-up statement. Number 4, this is your last step in this chapter for planning and preparing a speech, is rehearse your speech using your visual aids. Rehearse your speech out loud, not silently in your head. That's a great way to trick yourself and to end up doing a really bad job. And use your visual aids when you practice. So rehearse your speech out loud in front of yourself first, and then when you feel comfortable, do it in front of other people. And use your visual aids as you're practicing. If you throw those in at the last second during your actual presentation, it might throw you a little bit. So practice with your visual aids to get used to having them with you while you're presenting the real thing. That is it for Chapter 2. And we will continue on in the next video with our review of Chapter 3. I'll see you then.